Hey everyone, Ralph here. Today I got a real treat for you. I'm gonna speedrun a Shopify app from scratch in 1 minute and 9 seconds. That's correct. I'm gonna build a Shopify app in just over a minute. And if you don't believe me, stick around. I'll show you the speedrun. And then after, I'm gonna break it down step by step how I managed to do that in a way that you can follow along and reproduce and fill in some of the details and give you more color about what it is that I'm doing. But let's get into it with the speed run, and then we'll get to explaining what it is that I'm doing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and start this timer that I have. And I'm gonna be using Gadget. So going to gadget.new, I'm gonna name my app Speed. And then just straight to creating my Shopify connection in Gadget. And to do that, I need some client IDs and client secret details. So in my partner dashboard, I'm just creating those so I can paste these client IDs and client secrets into Gadget. Next, I need to select my API scopes. I'm just going to do product here, just something that allows me to go quick. Take these two URLs that I get from Gadget and paste them into my Shopify partners account, so Shopify knows where on the internet my app lives. And then I hit save, and now we're actually ready to install this app on a store. OAuth, webhooks, security headers, everything is configured for us. So just hit install app here, and we get the OAuth screen that we've seen 1,000 times. And then at this point, we will have completed our speed run. So this took 1 minute and 9 seconds, just over, to go from scratch to this. And what you're seeing here is the embedded Polaris UI of my app hosted on Gadget, installed on his store. And what I figured I'll do next is just walk you through step by step how you can do this, explain what it is that I'm doing, and give you a little bit more of the details. So let's switch over to this. We don't need this, so I'm gonna move that over. And what it is that I'm doing is using Gadget. So Gadget is a cloud-based software development platform where you can build essentially any type of web apps. But something that it really shines with is Shopify apps, and it's what we're going to build today. So you get a serverless app running on Google Cloud with backend, front-end, database, and a bunch of Shopify goodies that allows us to go this fast. But let me show you. And Gadget is free to sign up for. You can go to gadget.dev, sign up. So if you don't have a Gadget account, what I'm doing today, you can do with a free account, and you can create production-ready apps that you can install on RealStore with their free tier. I have a Gadget account naturally, so I'm just going to go to gadget.new. Going to create Shopify app here because that's what we're building. I'm going to hit next, and let's call this Speed 2 because I created my Speed app previously. And what Gadget gives you out of the box immediately here is a Node.js backend, a React front end, and a Postgres database. And that is all stitched together using best practices. It runs on Google Cloud. You get a development environment and a production environment that is just available for you via API. You can start using it immediately. So you can see up here, I have a URL, speed2.gadget.app is my unique URL for this app. And we'll touch on a couple of these things as we go, but let's do what we did in the speedrun. So then I click connect to Shopify here. And as I said, then we need a client ID and a client secret. So I'm going to go to my partners account, my Shopify partners account in apps here. I'm going to create app manually. You can do this via the CLI as well if you want. And then let's call this speed 2. Hit create here, and now Shopify gives us these client IDs and client secrets that I'm just going to paste into Gadget right here. Then I'm going to hit connect. And what is displayed here is essentially a long list of all of the Shopify admin APIs that you can use. And it's a really long list. Whatever admin APIs you want to use, they're going to be in here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to search for products. And then we got to figure out, what do I need to do with products? Do I only need to read them, or do I also need to write back to Shopify? So I'm just going to select write, because I'm going to show you how you write back to Shopify with Gadget. And the next step here is essentially Gadget breaks down a lot of Shopify's resources into smaller chunks, because some of these, such as products, customers, orders, checkout, a couple of those things, fairly big resources, a lot of data that you may not need or that you don't want to store. In my case, products here, I don't care about collections, I don't care about selling plans, etc. I just want product, image, and variant as an example. Then I just select those. If I ever change my mind, I can come back and add more, and Gadget will make sure that your app continues to work and you get this additional data. You can see out here in the right hand side, Gadget says okay, here are the webhooks that we're going to register for you. Here are the scopes that are going to be shown to a merchant when they install the app. And here are the various models or resources that Gadget is going to be syncing for you from the Shopify stores that install your app to Gadget's database that I'll show you in a minute. And essentially, any resources that your app needs to function exist here. You can select what it is that you need. And if you're building a public app, there's also a bunch of public app resources here. If you need billing, etc., it's all in here. But for today, we just need those product resources that I showed you. So next, I'm just going to hit confirm. Now, it was probably not easy to spot in the speedrun, but when we've done this, Gadget runs a bunch of migrations in the database of my app and creates all of these models, or think about them as Postgres data tables. So if I click on Shopify product here as an example, what we see are all of these fields that essentially represent what we're going to get in webhooks from Shopify for the product resources. You got tags, status, product types, and then they come with all of the fields, the data types, and cross-model relationships. So images here as an example, or shop, you have cross-modeled relationships already set up. So it means that you don't have to do all of this data modeling yourself. Gadget does it out of the box for any of the Shopify resources that you select that you want to use. To get back on the trail of the speedrun, we'll come back and show you the data in a little bit. Gadget gave us 2 URLs, or Gadget gives me 2 URLs here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy those into my app in the partners, Shopify partners here. And it's just my unique app URLs telling Shopify where on the internet does this app live, where should Shopify be sending webhooks and other information. So I'm going to hit save here, and next step was installing it on a store. So even though we haven't done any type of infrastructure setup, configuring OAuth, registering webhooks, any of those things, we can go ahead and install it on a store. And it's because Gadget does all of that out of the box with Shopify's best practices, so you don't have to do it. It's one of the reasons that we can do the speedrun so quickly. So we can just go ahead and test our app on a store. I'm going to use the same that I used in the speedrun. And then I'm going to hit install app here. And then this is just my partner's account. Whatever partner's account you use would show up here. Speed2 is the name of my app, of course. And then here we have edit product scopes, because I selected read and write. So whatever you select in Gadget is going to show up here for the merchant. Now we can just go ahead and install app. Shopify and Gadget does a little bit of an OAuth dance. And next, what we're going to be seeing here is what we saw when we ended the speedrun. So this is the end of the speedrun. What we have here is a fully hosted Shopify app installed on a store. This is an embedded React Polaris app hosted on Gadget. And at this point, this app would pass Shopify's App Store listing requirements from a technical perspective. You would need to create an app listing, you would need to create some logic, and you would need to create a embedded app UI for the merchant to use your app or configure your app naturally to pass the App Store requirements. But from a technical perspective, this app would be listed on the Shopify App Store, would pass the listing requirements. So if you're building a Shopify app, Gadget allows you to tick all of the boxes from a technical perspective, so you don't have to go and chase all of those things where you gotta figure out security headers and everything else that either takes a lot of time the first time you do it, or that is just annoying to do over and over again if you built public apps in the past. Naturally, you can use this as a custom app for just one store as well. Just to show you, this says like this page is powered by shoppage.jsx. So let me show you that, and I'll walk through a couple of other things that you can do in Gadget, even though I didn't do that in the speedrun, just to leave you with some more information. So in files here, I can open the front end folder. I can go to shoppage.jsx, and you can see that this right here is what we're seeing, right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and just add, let's say, hello world. Then that should refresh, but it didn't. So I'm just gonna refresh this. And what we'll see happen here is that it says hello world here. Because Gadget is hosted on the cloud, we're not tunneling through to my local host. I don't have to deploy something. Whatever you do in Gadget's development environment is just propagated live. And then when you're ready with whatever you're building, you push it to your production environment on your app. And that's what's sort of being used by whoever is using your app. And the data that we have here is not being called from the Shopify admin API. You can see this is the store name. This is when I created my store. This data is fetched from my Gadget app database. So if I go to Shopify Shop, which is the database model or table for any store that I've installed in my app, we can see that I have the information from the store that has installed it, and that's where this is being fetched. So in this shoppage.jss, we're actually calling our local data models here using APIs that Gadget creates for all of these models, and collecting or fetching data for my shop and rendering that. So when you're building an embedded app in Gadget, you don't have to use the Shopify admin API to get data. Gadget automatically syncs data to your local database that you can use without having to go back and forth to Shopify. And just to show you that, like I said, webhooks works out of the box. So if we go to this Shopify product model here that we looked at previously, we have this data model. This table is currently empty because Gadget doesn't automatically sync any data. But if we go ahead and create a product right here, say this is a test product for this demo, it's gonna add something like that and just some nonsense data for SKUs. If we save that, Shopify emits a webhook, Gadget listens to webhooks. So if we refresh, we can see that this appears here. Now, if you ever wanted to have also historical data, you can have Gadget download all of that data. In Gadget, it's called syncing data. You can do that automatically when a store installs your app. You can do it via an API call. When I develop, I usually just go in here and click this little button that essentially just sends a call to my API. And if we go back to product here, we can see that this is all of the products that I have on my store. And the way that it works in Gadget is that each product or each database model that Gadget creates for you or that you create yourself have these called actions. You can think about them as API endpoints. All of these models have API endpoints, and for Shopify models, it's create, update, and delete. And Gadget automatically wires those up to Shopify's webhooks here, as well as the sync that we just ran. And all of them have these default code files that will run. So you can think that whenever a Shopify webhooks gets triggered, Gadget wires that into this create action and then runs this serverless JavaScript function for us. Now, out of the box, by default, the only thing that these serverless functions do is that they store the data in your local database or a database in your app. Now, we can add additional logic to any of these to trigger something when a product gets created, updated, deleted, or an order, a customer, whatever we want when a webhook comes in. And the way that we do that is that we add additional logic right here. So whenever a record has been successfully saved, we can go ahead and trigger some logic here. And that could be passing it on to a third-party system, maybe sending a text message, or if the order is higher than X amount of dollars, send a Slack message to someone that should go look at it. Because it's Node.js, you can require any package in here that you want to use to make your development a lot easier. We just got a package.json here where you install of it. I just wanted to show you a very simple example where I'm just going to tag the product that I create in Shopify if it meets a certain requirement. So I'll replace this your logic here, and we'll do if record.title, because the record here is the webhook that comes in. We store it to our local database, and that is the record. So the record refers to the product that just was created, and the title is the title of the product. And then we'll just do record.title includes, and let's say foo. And what was I thinking? Now I lost my train of thought. So right. I'm using the web editor here. You don't have to use the web editor. It's just easier for recording these videos. You can run this command right here that will sync all of the code files from Gadget to your local machine. So you can use VS Code or whatever you prefer. And then whenever you save, they automatically get synced to Gadget. Or if you happen to edit in Gadget, your local machine will automatically get those updates. But for this purpose, I'm just going to use this web editor. So what we'll do next is let's use this, and I have a bit of a cheat sheet that I'm looking at, because otherwise we would spend some time debugging this. So let's do this. So we're just gonna select the existing tags if any exist, and then we're just gonna add bar essentially. The way to write back to Shopify is that we do this const Shopify, and then we're going to use our connections. Need to add that here, connections abstraction here, and then we're just going to use connections.shopify.current. Because Gadget knows which store is providing us with the webhook, we can say that's the store that we want to write back to, which is perfect if you have a public app with several shops that install it. And the way to write back then is just to do if this Shopify connection works. I'm going to do await Shopify dot product dot to update. Oops. And then we'll do parse int, and we'll pass back the record ID, which is the product's ID, the record ID. And then we're just going to pass in tags, do the final tags.join, and then those are comma separated when we pass it back to Shopify. So a little bit of a silly logic, but it's just to show you how you can extend these code files to trigger some arbitrary logic that you want to use. If we go back to products here, we add a product and This is a food product with some description. Add a little bit of a skew here. Hit save. Shopify emits that webhook. Gadget gets it. Gadget executes that code file. And if I refresh here, I would expect to see a tag that says bar. Very simple and a little bit rudimentary, but I hope you sort of get the idea. By the speedrun, 1 minute, 9 seconds, you essentially have a Shopify app that you can then go and add your logic, add your embedded app UI, whatever that is, and more quickly finish whatever app it is that you're trying to build. We're only scratching the surface with Gadget, but hopefully this gives you an idea of how fast you can go. If you have any questions about Gadget, you can shoot them in the message below or send them to me on Twitter or elsewhere. I would also suggest to go to gadget.dev and sign up to their developer Discord, where the team at Gadget can help answer any questions that you might have. And if you have something that you would want to build that I could show in a tutorial, comment below. And if you could like and subscribe, it would also help me with getting some YouTube momentum. But that's it for now. This was a speed run. I hope it was useful, and I hope that I'll see you in a future video. Thanks.